Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to fly the A320 without using autopilot, and the only auto feature we'll be using is the auto throttle. And trimming is automatic by default in the A320. So if you're new to jets, this is the way to go. You need to get the feel of your airplane, and you need to really learn how to fly and not just put things on autopilot and auto land, because that takes the fun out of flying. And the best jet to start with, I would say, is the A320, which, unlike the CRJ, has auto throttle and auto trim, which makes it much easier. So I would suggest you load up at Dubai International Airport, so that's OMDB. And one of the reasons is, so OMDB will give you excellent weather to practice. So it's usually sunny and clear skies. So we are now loaded up in the airplane. First thing, we'll just make a few checks. So I've just set the barometer to current pressure by using the B key. And we're setting autopilot to 3,000 feet and also plugging in our V speeds. Let's head over to the MCDU and set our V speeds by double clicking on the V speed buttons. And I'll also set in the frequency for ILS for runway 30 right, which is 110.9. And the runway direction, which is 299 degrees. Okay, so next we'll just click on the landing system, and you can see the frequency is tuned in correctly, and you could see the landing information. Next, we will set the heading to manual, so that synchronizes us with the runway heading, and we'll switch the view to landing system. So you can already see we're perfectly aligned on the ILS frequency, and the line shows that we are straight. Okay, just turning on the weather radar, and we are all set. Let's have a look outside of the airplane. All looks good. Let's head back in and get rolling. So final check, flaps 1, ground spoilers armed, and all lights on as required. And we are ready to roll. Okay, so what you need to pay attention to is the joystick on the left. So one of the things I found when I was learning to fly the A320 is to look at real pilots and see how they control the airplane. And that's how I learned how to really fly well. So I would suggest keep a look at the movements of the airplane and also how I'm controlling the joystick. So we are on the center line, airspeed is active, V1, rotate. And just pull up, follow the flight director line, so we'll just pull the nose up to around 20 degrees. Close to 20, around 18 degrees. So positive rate of climb, gear is up. And at 1,000 feet, we start pushing down. And that gives us more airspeed. And since we don't have to really climb beyond 3,000 feet, so that's the target altitude, we need to level out. And I've just reduced power from toga to climb power. Okay, so you can see now we're climbing at around 1,200 feet per minute, and I've eased the stick pressure. Speed is picking up, and we're almost at 250 knots, which is the target speed below 10,000 feet. So you can see I just moved my hand from the joystick, and the airplane is in steady climb. So we have 1,700 feet per minute, and The airplane attitude is set, the airspeed is in control, and as you can see, there's no autopilot. So just adjusting the pitch a bit so we can be set at 3,000 feet. But as I said, like the A320 has this auto trim feature, which is really useful, and it really automatically trims the airplane, so it's much easier to control than, say, the CRJ. Okay, so now we'll take the left turn. Since you're facing the joystick, you'll see that on your screen it looks like it's turning right, but it's a mirror image. So now we take a left turn, left 90-degree turn. And just making minor adjustments for the pitch to keep the airplane level. And as you can see, like I'm making really smooth movements of the side stick. So you don't have to be too rapid or too aggressive on it. And this airplane just beautifully responds to it. Okay, so we're almost at 90 degrees to the heading that we took off on. So we took a left turn and turned left 90 degrees from the direction we took off in. Okay, so this is looking good. On the left is the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. Beautiful view of the Dubai skyline. And as you can see, without applying a lot of corrections, I can just remove my hand from the side stick and the airplane is in smooth flight. Holding nicely around 3,000 feet, speed is at 250 knots, and there's no autopilot. So I just use one of the buttons on the side stick for changing to external view. So that's what I'm pressing on right now. Okay, so once we've cleared downtown, we'll take a left turn. And this is not the standard procedure for a circuit over Dubai. We just chose to do it this way. So none of these are standard procedures. Alright, so now we're ready for the next 90-degree turn left, and that will put us on the downwind leg. And down there you can see the beautiful Burj Al Arab. So again, some minor adjustments, really smoothly. Just watch my hand on the side stick, making some minor adjustments for the pitch and getting on to the downwind leg. Okay, now we are parallel to the runway. I'll get us straight, just increasing the brightness of the displays. And now we will follow, we'll go straight in around 10 to 12 nautical miles from the end of the runway. We will then start turning towards the runway onto the final leg. So turning on the landing system, you can see we have the distance from the runway. So that is live. Our ILS is already showing the runway position, which is to our left. And as you look out the screen, you can actually see there's a runway to our left. And you can also see I don't have my hand on the stick most of the time, so this airplane just beautifully flies without autopilot. Just making some minor adjustments to keep us at 3,000 feet. The runway is now at a 45-degree angle when I look outside my window. So about time we start making our turn towards the base leg. Now also make some corrections to keep us at 3,000 feet. Alright, so now we'll activate the approach mode in the MCDU. And that will start slowing the airplane down from 250 knots to around 220 knots. And once we do that on the A320, once you start, that takes you down to your safe speed for operating flaps. And then once you give your flaps one, the airplane slows down on its own with auto throttle. You give flaps 2 and then it slows down further. So that is a real nice feature of this airplane on how it controls your speed with your flaps. Okay, so we're at 3,000 feet, just making some minor corrections to keep us at a steady vertical speed. At 0 vertical speed, just making minor corrections. We're almost 90 degrees to the runway on the base leg. And there you can see we are approaching the runway. So even if you did not have this ILS display in front of you, you could just use your visual references points by looking out the window towards the runway, and that is a very good visual reference of when you should start turning. Okay, so just getting ready for landing. Auto brakes at set to low. Ground spotters armed. Also making visual checks of where we are. Just putting our flaps 1. So this should also slow us down. And once you lower the flaps, it produces additional lift, which is why the airplane would pitch up. And that's where you need to apply some corrective power to make sure we stay level. Okay, so we can see visually the runway is almost there, so we start making our turn towards final. So final 90-degree turn, and you can see the ILS needle is also moving, so we need to intercept that, but as I said, we're not making an ILS approach, so I will continue to fly visual and just watch my side stick on how smooth some of these corrections and movements are. Okay, so we are Still 9 miles out, so still a lot of room to make corrections. We are at the glide slope, so we've intercepted glide slope, and we can now start descending. And flaps 3. So that will slow us down, bring us on the approach speed. And just making minor corrections, keeping that glide slope indicator diamond at the center, and around 800 to 900 feet per minute. Gear down, flaps full. That should take us to the required approach speed. And now just watch my side stick and how I make some of those small adjustments and corrections to keep us lined up onto the runway. But just note there is no autopilot, and the only support we are using is from auto throttle. Alright, so we're lined up really nicely. The glide slope is aligned, and we'll still need to make a few corrections, but yeah, we're lined up very nicely onto the runway. The speed's reduced to approach speed, and now we just need to make sure we keep our descent path, and we also keep aligned to the runway. As we get closer, it might need a bit more rapid corrections, but none of the aggressive movements. Like you can see, the aircraft is quite stable. Even at the corrective actions, like we are still very much straight on towards the runway. It seems like there are no WASI lights. At least like in the simulator I don't see any. Otherwise that's also a very good visual reference of your glide slope, so you don't have to look at the ILS diamond. And 2 reds and 2 whites really help you come straight at the required glide slope for your approach. Okay, so just making some corrections, keeping us lined up. You can see visually and also on the ILS needle we're a bit towards the left, and I'm just making some of those corrections to keep us towards the center line. Now we're a bit to the right of the runway, and we need to come back left and make sure we are at the center line.
500.
And maintaining a vertical speed of 700 to 800 feet per minute.
400.
Okay, so we're reducing our vertical speed a bit because we are slightly lower than the glide
300.
slope. And also continuing to make our corrections to line up to the runway.
200.
And you can see that the touchdown threshold markers coming up.
100.
Alright, so we are at 50 feet. We will retard the throttle,
30,
start to pitch up a
20,
bit. So we need to
retard,
reduce the
5.
descent rate and nicely touch down. Okay, and making some small rudder adjustments to keep us straight on the center line. Noses down, thrust reversers active, reducing down to 60 knots, disengaging thrust reversers, applying some brakes, and there you go. We are back at Dubai International in a very beautiful landing, which has been, the whole flight's been completely manual instead, except for the auto throttle. And I would just recommend that you practice like that. You don't have to go on long flights or anything. You just need to practice, practice, and practice. And once you get this right, you will get a lot more fun in your flight simulation. So I hope you enjoyed this short tutorial, and I hope you are able to fly your A320 without autopilot and then move on to other jet airplanes. Alright, thanks a lot. Do like the video and subscribe to the channel and let me know what else you'd want to learn. Thanks a lot.